Hi, and welcome to another episode of Epic Sketch Time. My name is Mark Monlux. I'm a freelance illustrator in Tacoma, Washington. You can check out my links below in the doobly-doo if I remember to put them there. I like to do cartoon reviews of movies. On the side, you can see those on my Patreon as well as on my Instagram account. Bill, you're up next.
I am Bill Morse. I'm a freelance illustrator and cartoonist working out of Seattle, Washington. I also do a webcomic called Rhapsodies in my spare time.
And howdy, everybody. My name is Ian Castruita. You can check out my stuff at unfedartist.com. I am an illustrator, cartoonist, and graphic designer working out of Arizona.
And I should mention that we're all members of the Graphic Artists Guild. And now, Bill, I know that you're the president of the Cartoonist Northwest, and I'm involved with the Claw Artists Guild. Ian, are there any local drawing groups that you're a member of, or are you being a complete hermit right now?
I barely see the sunlight, and that's about it. No, yeah, ever since COVID hit, like all my little groups that I was part of have dried up because nobody wants to be in the same room. So it's just you guys. You're my only friends. So congratulations.
If by miraculous chance I have this posted up in time for anyone to be interested, tomorrow is the Graphic Artists Guild is doing something called the pricing game, where I believe we've got a variety of projects that people are going to present, and then you get to guess at how much that individual artist got for that particular project. That should be quite fun. Mm-hmm. I sent Stowe one of the projects I did, a logo for a mom and pop gaming company or a game store. They have since sold the store to somebody else, and I have no idea how that store is holding up through COVID. They basically sold the store to their employees, and their employees decided to do it as a co-op.
That sounds awesome, but considering how a lot of those particular businesses are doing these days, I can't be that optimistic.
Well, I do know that about 2 years ago, they left this company, which is called Tacoma Games. Mm-hmm. First, they moved into a relatively small space, did well enough there that within a year, they had moved out and down the street to a space that was 4 times as big. Even bigger than that, maybe 8 times as big. And so they really expanded out. But after the owners sold, and I can understand why the owners sold, the couple, when they first started the store, she was just starting to be pregnant. Mm-hmm. When they first started, and he was also working at Microsoft, so she was doing quite a bit of running the store. When they sold the store, her child was at least 4 years old, and I think there might have been another one on the way. I'm not exactly sure, but certainly family life had heated up for both of them. And I think his attention between work and home and the game store just became a bit too much. Do you guys have any friends who have started businesses and ended up having to leave them in recent years?
Yeah, a friend of mine, actually you know him, Mark, Aaron. His the dreaming of unfortunately fell through due to numerous sort of a progression of bad luck 2 years ago.
The Dreaming was a comic book store in the University District of Seattle.
That's correct, Comics and Games. And it's a shame because it was a very good, very popular place and a very much a community hub, and therein was and still is well loved.
Now, I know that the place that you would go to do the drawing group, Dune, Cafe Racer has closed its doors until COVID is over. They are no longer renting the space that they were at, and if they do restart again, it might be in a different location.
That's what I'm assuming, because I heard some news that Cafe Racer, it wasn't doing that well before COVID, and apparently they closed up about a month ago.
Yeah, I saw the post on their Facebook page. And let's see, I'm trying to think. There used to be a comic book store in Tacoma called Comic Book Inc., which was a great name for a store. It was run by a great guy named John Munn, and he gave me the keys to his store, and it was like a second home for me.
Mm-hmm.
Me and a bunch of other cartoonists in the cloud, we used that as our meeting place, and we'd go down there after hours and just sit and hang out and draw. And you know, when you're that great of a store and everyone's in the community is involved with it, it's a shame to see it go. But it went several years ago. I think it was maybe 5 years ago now. John's second love was the theater, and he had been working in an administration capacity for the Lakewood City Playhouse, while the person who ran that organization was undergoing cancer treatment. Well, the treatments were not successful, and John basically stepped into his role permanently, and that swallowed up a huge amount of his time. And you really can't be the director of a local theater production and a comic store book owner. It's just too much of a...
Those are both self-destructive labors of love, and doing both of them is...
So you might remember that there was a bad economic turn where the real estate kind of prices kind of fell out, and that's towards the end of that. That's when he had to make a choice of what he wanted to do. So what are you guys working on today?
I'm pretty much catching up on strips. So mostly inking.
I'm getting started in my next strip, and just going through the script hopper that I have to decide what I want to do. I have a idea for a TikTok theme comic, so I think I'm going to do that because it's kind of topical.
Yeah.
And I'm just right now I'm picking out references to go by. So, what about you, Mark? What do you got?
I have a paying project, believe it or not. I actually have two paying projects. One is a video project, which I think I'm all done doing the illustration work for. I did some last minute stuff yesterday on it. I need to consult with the client and query to see if there's any further need. And then I picked up a book illustration project. So I've been doing comps for it for the last couple of days, and it's a really fun one. I mean, it's not one where he and I are both on the same wavelength. He's letting me go with my creativity. whatever, whatever changes he's offering are minor. There's one image that's being a little problematic, but nothing that can't be. I'm just really enjoying the project.
Very cool.
But I can't show it, so because confidentiality and all that. Not until it gets published.
Yeah. Oh, if Mark allows us to have access to screen share, I want to show off a little something before.
Let me go ahead and hit that button.
Yeah. This started out as a background prop in the strip that was very mediocre, but that didn't matter because it was going to be the size of a postage stamp. But I ended up finishing it, doing a finished version of it anyway. It's a imaginary campaign for an ice cream company, and sort of I was going with being deliberately childish and outside of my usual style. And where is it? And I'm not, the animals could use a little tweaking, but otherwise I'm pretty pleased with it.
Well, I like the bunny. I'd make the, is that a fox or a dog?
It's a fox, and regrettably Arctic foxes don't look as fox-like as they could because of their relatively short muzzle and small ears.
Yeah, I would make his muzzle just a little bit more pointy. I mean, you are dealing with a cartoon, so iconography representation might just go a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And that looks like it's a weasel in the background.
Yeah, ermine, but yes.
Okay. I like her joyful smile. That's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's pulling my eye off
Mm-hmm.
is that the trunk of the tree to our right is totally adjacent to her mitten.
Okay.
If at all possible, I would, wiggle her and the other elements below her a little bit to the left, because I think she's in good positioning with the other elements.
Mm-hmm.
But just so that there's a little bit of a gap of blue between the trunk and the glove. What do you think, Ian? Am I being nitpicky?
Oh, so you said this was for a product in your comics?
Yeah.
How's it going to be shown? I mean, this is a fairly large scale. I mean, and your comics are.
This was well. Let me. I mean, as I said, this was I was sort of doing it as one of those what the heck things after finishing the terrible piece of vector work I did. In answer to your question, where there's how it's used right there, but that's
Oh, that's so tiny compared to.
Yeah, that's amazingly tiny.
As I said, I was doing.
Are you going to do color in that comic strip? Because it's usually your Sundays are color and your strips are black and white.
I'm thinking of using it more in a upcoming Sunday strip. As I said,
what context, like a billboard or something?
In a billboard, and also the main reason it's coming up is that the band who are a 1/3 of the cast are working the company party for this that is celebrating the beginning of that campaign. So
is that character from that ad, is that going to show up kind of like a mascot, like somebody in a mascot costume or something?
Quite likely, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now I do have I'm going to point out a potential landmine for you, Bill.
Mhm.
In this age of socially correctness.
She's too much Eskimo.
Well, she is an Eskimo.
I
You,
was sort of going with a deliberate blend between Sami and Inuit, but yeah.
no,
Is
we got.
Eskimo like a derogatory term, or?
Well,
It-
I would
it-
like to point out the Land O'Lakes butter maiden.
Yeah.
Okay, for decades there's been this maiden on the Land O'Lakes butter, and they just took her off completely. It's just Land O'Lakes butter.
Yeah.
Don't want to represent, unless the company's owned by Native Americans,
Mhm.
a Native American. Even the Redskins have finally knelt to pressure and are getting rid of the very stereotype Redskin mascot.
Now,
Mhm.
does this controversy fit into the storyline? Is that why the character is this way, or were you just trying to come up with a?
This was me brainstorming for a winter symbolism for an ice cream company.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, and
if the controversy isn't part of the story, I would just keep it generic, like Mark is trying to warn you
Mhm.
towards. Like maybe make it the bunny or the snow fox or
well,
something.
she can't do the bunny.
Like,
There's already an ice cream company that's using a bunny.
Uh-huh.
But I see nothing wrong with the snow fox. But I think it would be funny to use the ermine, like ermine ice cream.
I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be, the ermine could be like a swirl, like an ice cream swirl, and just have that as sort of like you've got so many elements going on that
Yeah.
they're so busy. By the time you shrink it down, you can't tell what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the purposes of that single strip that you showed us, I wouldn't be going to this much trouble because I don't think people would even see it, to be honest. Like, you'd have a better luck just having the name of the company on that piece of paper that woman was holding.
And to a certain extent, it was one of those what the heck things where I was doing it as an exercise of doing something outside of my style.
Yeah, and that shows. I actually like the art style a lot. I just, I think I always ask the purpose question, right? Like, how's it being used?
I appreciate it because it forces me to think about it. And
yeah. I mean, intent is a big part of what we do, right? Like, I mean, it's like, what is the function of this artwork that we're creating? It's not just for our purposes in a vacuum. I mean, there's a reason for what we do. Presumably. I mean, I'm basically creating comics in a vacuum, but I hope not to one day.
I'm in no position to judge you on that one.
So here is a project I did the other week.
Yeah.
It is or did I show this one already?
That was what you worked on last week.
It was at that stage when you were showing it us last week.
Oh, okay. So
the finished project at Fandango.
Okay, so I'll show the finished project here. This is the dried fruit fiber fairy. I kept the input. Isn't that a lot of words to have?
Mm-hmm.
So
This was a logo for a company, right?
this is more like a not a logo, more like a mascot.
Mascot. Okay.
Basically, this woman dries fruit and wants to sell it, but it's definitely a mom and pop production. But right now, it's just a kitchen production. So,
what's the client think?
Client loved it.
Oh, that's great.
It was, as I was telling Bill in Freelance Fandango, it was as his artwork. Her budget wasn't that high.
Right.
I
So you
said,
called the shots.
yeah, I said, and as much as I tried to query her, all of our conversation was done through text, and she wasn't responding to a lot of my questions. Like,
Well, that's frustrating.
oh yeah,
I don't know if I'd even do that. But you said this was like a person who's well situated in the community and
oh yeah, she
could
is
give you
definitely
work
well
later on.
situated in the community. She knows the art community, and this will definitely spread my name about where with the people who have more money. But there's always a danger that if you do something inexpensive for one other person, then other people think they can get the job done for the same amount.
Yeah. I mean, usually what I do is, well, I say usually, I don't come across that situation too often, but my approach, and tell me if there's a better way to do this, is I tell them, okay, this is what I would have charged. That's what you tell people you paid. They don't need to know that you didn't, but I don't want people kind of thinking that, this work is typical for me.
Yeah, I thought about telling her that time, and normally I would have, but something in my instinct said not to tell her.
Really? So
Yeah.
so she knows she got it for whatever price, and you're okay with her telling people how much she paid?
Yeah, I think I am in this situation because I can always say, when she called me, COVID,
Uh,
would always be an excuse. Also, I could say, I felt like being generous that day.
yeah.
Now, I can be generous with you on your project to a certain extent by giving you a certain amount of value for your work. But right now, I'm busy, So,
Right.
if only you had contacted me when there was,
COVID. If only.
and who knows? In 6 months' time, I might be more than happy to do the same project again.
Yeah. Now, the business consultant that I hired this year, she put out a newsletter or something, telling people to do, exactly the opposite, right? I guess during the recession, a lot of people lowered their prices, and they suffered after things started getting better because it was difficult to bring the prices back up.
I would not recommend anyone do what I just did. It's something that is so contrary to what I normally do and what I prophesied.
Yeah.
Hey, look, we got Roger coming in.
Roger. Remind me.
Roger's an animator.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Hey, before we get too far along, I was looking on the Graphic Artists Guild website, and I don't see the pricing thing tomorrow on the upcoming events. Is it
the pricing game?
Yeah, I don't see that. The next event they have is Freelance Fandango on the 10th.
Well, I'm thinking that's an error on their part. Contact. Let me see if I can find a link.
I was pretty sure I saw it on the West newsletter.
Is it just a West newsletter thing, or
well, it
West
should be listed up through Eventbrite, but more than likely, someone in the guild's PR department dropped the ball, and didn't do the link. So let me see if I can find it.
I'll search through my email and see if it's called the pricing game.
Yeah, pricing game. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. I doubt if I got that wrong.
The reason I asked is because I want to check it out. I enjoyed the last one that I saw.
Virtual reminder for the West Coast region pricing game. Let's see. Access the event. Contact the organizer. Organized by the Graphic Artists Guild. I'm looking to see if I can. Here is the link in the. Let me go into the chat. Hey, Roger, we see you in the chat. We don't have a microphone or a camera for you, Roger, so for some reason that link didn't pop in all the thing. Let me see if I can get. Okay, I think this link will work better. Okay, try that second link there, Ian, in the chat. That should take you there.
Okay. Yeah, this is happening tomorrow. I honestly don't have anything in any of my newsletters or anything. So I'm glad you told us about it. Unless I wasn't supposed to be invited. Is this
No, it's anyone from any of the regions can do this. I'm
Okay.
wondering if perhaps the West region Eventbrite might be on a different account, but it says follow the Graphic Artists Guild. I'm going to go ahead and send a note to Paula. Maybe she can deal with this tomorrow morning.
Well, it does say an event for Western members, so.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, on the Eventbrite page.
Well, I think anyone can go ahead and attend. Just go ahead and sign up for it.
Arizona is west, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I just.
I know that sounds like an incredibly stupid question, but in the context of the guild.
No, I know what you're saying. I'm just surprised this event wasn't announced.
Yeah, because I only heard it from Stowe at Fandango.
Well, I thought in my newsletter, but yeah, I don't think it's gotten a lot of access.
It's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm not great at reading the newsletters, but I try to skim through them and pick and choose the stuff that comes up. Oh well, no harm, no foul. I ended up finding out about it. It's just a shame other people won't. Oh. So can we see the like a preview of what you submitted?
Oh yeah, give me a moment. As soon as I'm done with this email, I'll send it to you. Okie dokie. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and open this up in Illustrator where I created it, and then I'll show it to you guys. Oh, it's showing up in preview. I want no, not Acrobat. Now maybe I'll just show it as an Acrobat file. So glad to have you with us, Roger. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So this is the logo I made for Tacoma Games. We're talking a mom and pop shop, but literally just starting up. They needed a logo for the store and everything else. So I gave them my mom and pop rate, my minimum starting point for doing a logo. I gave them 3 rough sketches, and they liked this one the most. They loved the other 2. They would later go on and buy the second one I did and have me develop it as a store mascot. When I created this, it's in Adobe Illustrator. I gave it to them in JPEGs, PNG, and of course EPS, as well as the source files, because it's a full rights buyout. Working with them was extremely easy. I told them, okay, once you pick your sketch, I'll do a tight. If you have any alterations, do them to the tight. And then as I built this as a vector, I'm going to create these elements separately so that you can use them as gamebacks or as different elements, like the word Tacoma Games, the donut with the star in the stars in the background. Either the lettering itself is a separate letter, the ring's a separate element, the various dice are separate elements. Even the game piece that makes up the nose of the rocket is a separate element, as is the flames coming off of the back of the rocket. They did use those occasionally, but for the most part, the main thing they used was the letters stacked on top of each other sometimes when they couldn't use the full element. And I also gave, I think, did I say that I gave them a grayscale version of this?
No.
Yeah, so I also gave them a grayscale version.
Huh.
They got a lot of value for their buck. And remember last time when I was talking about payment programs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I put them on a payment program with this logo, they didn't flinch at the price. As a matter of fact, they knew they got a steal from me because they wanted a professional. They met me through a comic book convention because, hey, they're gamers. That's what they do. They go to conventions. And so I ended up doing quite a bit of additional work down the road from them, not only doing the mascot, but every time they wanted a variation on the mascot, like they wanted a Halloween version where the mascot was headless. They wanted a Santa Claus version, and they would make stickers or use them in promotional. So I got a fair amount of work and actually had to increase my credit line to them at one point. So how much do you think I got for this logo?
That's cool. Well, you shouldn't tell us, because that way the suspense will take us till tomorrow, right? We can.
Well, I tell you what, I can tell you next week in case you don't show up tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll either show up tomorrow or show up next week. But that's a great logo. I think that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to see if I can. Wonder if I can find the mascot I made for them, or the original concept sketches. I was hoping that Stowe would get on the line today.
Well, he sounded like he was having an off day based on the last FaceTime Facebook post I saw from him.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd vent his spleen. Maybe he'll vent his spleen tomorrow. Matter of fact, I'm betting he's going to vent his spleen tomorrow.
Did you say vent his spleen?
Yes, vent his spleen.
Is that painful? What is going on?
It's a well-known figure of speech for meaning to rant.
Oh, vent his spleen. Okay.
You've never heard that wonderful colloquialism?
No, I thought I knew them all too. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Let's see.
Well, it's been around for at least 50 years. Maybe Mark and I are just showing our age.
Well, colloquialisms can tend to be regional too. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I had them back east, so.
So let's all. I'm guessing that Stowe will be more on target today. Last time, I thought he was going to vent his spleen about something. I thought it would be like 20 minutes in, but it turned out it wasn't more than 5 minutes in. But since he's actually has a subject in mind and is doing a different presentation, I'm going to guess that's going to be about half an hour before he weakens and then goes off on his rant. But I might be wrong. Let's see.
Oh, Mark, on one question, since you've been using Procreate slightly longer than I have you come across ways to do effects on folders as opposed to individual layers?
Effects on folders?
Well, at the very least, transparency and stuff. I've found that mildly frustrating when I'm doing the drawing stage.
You're
I don't
about
understand. Are you talking about? No, he's talking about Procreate. Are you?
Procreate.
Let's be more specific, Bill. The folders is when you basically have multiple images inside is a grouping of multiple images underneath a file.
Right.
Okay, that's just organization. You can't do all the images. You can't manipulate those.
Unfortunately, that's what I thought. It was sort of, though, sometimes annoying to having to decrease the opacity of each layer one at a time.
Well, what I think you can do is, I believe you can create a group of layers.
Yes, that's what I.
That's not what you said, though. You said a folder. A folder is, if you look at my screen here. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure I actually meant. Okay, yeah, I meant group of layers.
Okay, then I haven't messed around with grouping at all of layers, so I can't speak to that. It might be possible.
If it is, it's not been particularly intuitive.
Let me see. I want to find the final or still looking for this. Hey, Roger. Yeah, can you say that again? You came across as garbled. Roger?
Can he hear us?
I think he can hear us. His microphone says it's on. I wonder if he's and he wasn't. Oh, he said something in the chat here. Yes, I can hear, but no video at this time. Oh, what did I say to you just now, Roger? Well, I could hear you briefly for a moment, and it shows that your microphone is on. So I was just wanting to say hi to you.
Yeah, okay, hi.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, so Ian, what are you up to today, or drawing-wise?
I'm working on my comic. What about yourself?
Yeah, same thing regarding, well, I'm drawing the 11-second club for this month.
Now, Roger, I thought you had a camera or something, because I remember seeing some of your animation panels before.
Right, I do. I did buy a new one, but it's showing chroma, color weird. It doesn't work. So I have to get another new one soon. So I'm kind of down on luck regarding webcams right now. I'm buying ones that work. 2 in a row now that have not worked.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, well, I'm still trying to work on getting 2 at a time so I can show you my ugly mug and my work at the same time. Share screen.
What cameras have you been buying?
Just cheap, off-grade webcams. Cost $20 maybe.
Oh, well, there's a problem.
That's all I can afford for now.
Yeah, I've been looking at potentially buying a Sony camera, which isn't a webcam, but it's actually meant for like vlogging and everything. But you could connect it to your computer and use it as a webcam. But I've been saving up for that. And I think that's close to $1,000. So just
Yeah.
Okay. So here are some concept sketches. This was, I took one of my preliminary sketches with the robot and added a bunch of different type of lettering around it. This was one of the concept sketches that didn't make the grade for the final logo, but they loved the concept of they loved the robot so much that they asked me to go ahead and make it into a mascot. So let me show you that. This is a black and white line vectoring of the mascot. I just found that real quickly. And this was actually a full, 6 foot tall display that they would haul around. And I would change his coloring depending on the season. So this is him in his Christmas outfit.
Play was a 2D cutout, or
Yes, it was a 2-day cutout, though they had been they were even considering having me design them a full-size mascot suit. But that kind of got back shelved. They went for various stickers instead. I did design this, the display of the robot to actually break down into 2 parts. So this top part was one section, and then this bottom part came up to about here, and this would slide onto it. And there was a back, single bore triangle back brace that it would lean back against, and that was enough to hold it up. And of course, we had to go with a flat bottom that we did. We connected it to the heels here and just made that part a simple white. We decided to do a cutout on we were deciding whether or not to do a cutout on the legs, but decided for the time being to keep that. We just kept it white instead of hollowing it out. We wanted to see how well the foam was. They thought about doing foam core, but there's this other type of board that's far more durable called gator board, and it's also thinner. And it makes for great displays. And I believe we had this printed up through Print Northwest, which is a local print company that does great display work. Highly recommend those folks. So that's the mascot I did for them.
So tomorrow for the pricing game, you're just showing that first logo though, right?
That's
this
right,
is all
just the first one.
Yeah, this is all the other work that you got from doing that logo.
That's right. And they were wonderful clients. They absolutely loved me. I loved them. And their shop, much like Comic Book Inc., became another home for my drawing group. They would host us for the 24-hour comic challenge.
Well, I forgot about those.
Yeah, we used to do them at Comic Book Inc., but then we couldn't find a venue, and then these folks stepped in, and I think we did it for 4 or 5 years there. And then even the new cooperative that took over the store, they were happy to have us, which is really nice. But when they moved to a smaller location because they had to cut costs, there was simply no room to do. I mean, they went back into a space that was nearly as small as the first place. And I'm wondering if they're still up and going. Part of their appeal was their very inexpensive table rates. And another one of their appeals was that you didn't have to own you didn't have to rent the game. They would just allow you to take the game off the storage shelf, and you could go ahead and play it and run a game before you bought it, which was really nice. Oh.
How much networking do you think you do just on on like going to comic shops and game shops and stuff, because lately, like my business groups, they all talk about like finding like a target industry to network with, right? Like if I wanted to work for the video game companies, I'd go find video game conferences and stuff to go to. But it seems like you found a lot of you know, good jobs, clients that you're happy with and stuff, just by doing the stuff you like doing, right? Like going to comic shops and game stores and stuff. I mean, has that been fruitful for your business, or has it just been kind of a nice thing to have?
Let's see. Certainly, by being involved in the local art scene has done a lot for my business.
Yeah.
One of the best things that has happened for my business, doing comic book shows. People have found me at comic book shows, and I have picked up work there. But the largest amount and the highest amount of corporate work I've received is I do a lot. I became a member of the local Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Yeah, and you've
Okay.
spoken about this before, so I need to think about that more.
Now, yes, you do pay like $35 a month to be a member of the Tacoma Pierce County Chamber of Commerce, but it happens to be the largest chamber of commerce in the state.
Okay.
And I've done guerrilla advertising through them and gotten business from them. But more than even the chamber, I became very, through the art group that I started with the Claw. And even before then, I started going to the various art openings around town and the art events. It's fortunate that inside the city of Tacoma, there's this Tacoma Art Listserv. You're familiar with the old listserv
Yeah.
that people used to do. Well, Tacoma has one that's nothing but people posting about their art events and art groups and when they're meeting. And it's grown from being just Tacoma to almost this whole South Sound. So people in the next city over who are florist arrangers or what have you. Now, it's not a conversation. It's not about that. It's not about selling stuff. It's about strictly announcements, and that's it. Job openings can be posted, and job queries can also be posted, like someone saying, I need someone to do a mural on this particular place, please contact me. That type of thing. By going to those events in the evening and just getting out and going to like the third Thursday art walk and things of that nature, I started to rub elbows with other artists in the city, and I would listen in on their type of community projects. Like one of the first things I did was a gal named Lynn Danino was doing postcards for the city of Tacoma. She was kind of angry that every time you went into a souvenir shop, there were all these postcards about Seattle, but none about Tacoma. So she reached out to all of our artists and said, hey, make me postcards and send them to me. So she hand selected really good artists. They got themselves some postcards printed at Got Print or whatever, gave them to her. She would take these around town, and the proceeds from the sales would go to the food bank. And just getting involved in community activities like that started to raise the exposure. Doing the chalk drawings on Fridays with other artists, that raised my exposure. Next thing I know, because I then started getting phone calls from the Tacoma Art Museum because other people who were doing the chalking were flaky, and I would pick up the phone and talk to them, and actually, or it says, hey, we need a bunch of chalkers. to come and do something at the museum, rather than they would try to reach the guy in charge who did the chalkies, but he's a very loosey-goosey character, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'll mention it." And he might mention it, but he wouldn't go out and orchestrate it. Whereas I would go out and orchestrate it, and find the artists and call them up and say, "Hey, we're coming up next Saturday. We're going to be here and we're going to be chalking." You know. I'm looking at what you're drawing there, Ian. Doing hands, that looks really nice.
Oh, thanks.
So I would say community involvement really raises the level of exposure around town. And I've gotten more work because of that locally than I have through other types of marketing. I'm still living from word of mouth as far as my other networking. The other type of work I've been getting is by going through organization conventions like the International Forum of Visual Practitioners. This book project came through that. My whiteboard project started with that. That's where I learned how to do whiteboards. So, but what you say is right. You know, you start doing something that you like, but do something that you like that other people can see on the public venue and talk about.
Yeah.
Just putting it out on the website isn't going to cut it.
That is certainly true. Well, it's 5:30 for me, guys.
It is 5:30 here.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for joining us for Epic Sketch Time. Thank you, Roger, for calling in. It's been great hearing from you. Hopefully you won't be suffering from technical difficulties too long. We'd love to see your animation work. And thank you, Bill and Ian, for showing up.
Cool, no problem.
See you next week.
Pleasure. Take care, guys.
Yep, ciao.